Are we sure that Shane Dawson's not a sociopath? Because every time that he was doing something, he was egging somebody on to do something more dangerous, more risk-taking, and more harmful to themselves and others. Part 5 of Shane Dawson's Inside the Mind of Jake Paul took us inside Jake Paul's world, and I gotta say, that world is a little bit crazy. I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to live in the life of Jake Paul. I'm not sure that that would ever be something that I would want to do, but I had seen like clips here and there of the craziness of his life, and yeah, going inside the Team 10 house, kind of what I expected. So here's the deal. As we've been following along in the series, I have liked all the drama and the craziness surrounding the whole Jake Paul situation, and I like that Shane has been giving us that inside look, because it's called the Inside the Mind of Jake Paul, right? So we gotta, like, get something that we never seen before about Jake Paul, and I like that Shane is doing that. I really like that Shane is incorporating people from all over YouTube, commenting on things, and he's reacting. You know, if you follow him on Twitter, he's been responding to people. It's become like a little cultural phenomenon here on YouTube to get involved whenever Shane Dawson does one of these like docu-series things. And I appreciate that Shane, you know, he puts up people wanting to see more, and he also puts up the criticisms and stuff, and he's been responding to that. And I feel like he responded to that like way too much in the past. I did a whole video about Kati Morton and how I feel about that whole situation. If you want to check that one out, people seem to love that one. But I don't know. I feel like this episode was a little bit more chill, a little like not so crazy, and I feel like maybe that was an overcorrection because of the way people have been criticizing him the whole time about being too dramatic because it involves a mental illness. And you know, Shane put those disclaimers in, like, once again for the millionth time in this series, that this time, like, made it bold, like, clear, right there in your face. Jake knew the whole time what was going on. Jake knew that he was going to be evaluated by a therapist, and Jake told Shane, you have no limits on what you do with this series. And I'm sorry, everybody, I am not clutching my pearls over this one. It has been clear from the very beginning that this was like a tongue-in-cheek kind of a thing, and it's not meant to be diagnosing anybody, and it's just supposed to be kind of like a fun way to open up a conversation about behavior and what's good and what's bad and what's the truth behind Jake Paul. And I feel like Shane has been delivering on that promise. I am going to give you a little bit of a ding, though, Shane, for using OCD as an adjective talking about the closet. I know you've had some stuff with body dysmorphia, and I know you know what OCD is. I didn't like that. Whatever. Okay, so Kati and Shane went undercover, and I know this is going to be like a big controversial thing, and I'm not here for it, people. I'm not here for it. It's meant to be tongue-in-cheek. It's not to be a big deal, but Kati and Shane went undercover, even though Jake knew everything was off limits, to see what's going on with Jake. Could he possibly be a sociopath? And Kati brought along her notes, and I can hear the criticisms. I just don't care. She brought along her notes about what to look for with sociopaths and particularly dangerous kinds of people. And she mentioned, you know, maybe, I don't know, I don't think she could have anticipated this backlash that came out, but she mentioned that not all sociopaths, hashtag not all sociopaths, are violent. And, like, you know, this has been dramatized for that reason, because we're just having fun here, okay? I don't know. Can you have fun? Can we have fun? So when it came to Jake in particular, they were looking to see, is he risk-taking? Is he manipulative? And is he seeking pity? Is he trying to get you to like him out of pity? So one thing that I will say here is going into the Team 10 house, like, it just seems like there's always something going on, and it sounds like they're, like, constantly, like, renovating the place and changing things around, which, I don't know about you, but that would totally affect my mental health. I would not have an easy time living there. I would be going crazy every day. I mean, it seems like somebody always has their phone out ready to film something, and there's always a lot of noise. There's, like, a lot of echo in the rooms because the rooms are very big. It is a big place. Like, it just seems like there's always people around. Like, if you're not that kind of, like, excitement type of a person, I wouldn't want to live there. Jake, on the other hand, clearly likes that kind of environment, and he is a bit of a risk taker. I mean, we saw all the things that he was doing in the video, driving around and doing tricks and whatnot, and it may not seem like a risk to a lot of people, but it is risky to some extent. It's that adrenaline thing. He kept mentioning adrenaline and wanting to feel like that adrenaline, and I think that is a common thing with people who are sociopathic, you know, who have these tendencies that the reason why they do the risk taking is because it gives them a rush. It makes them feel powerful or important or, you know, just driven. I don't know. I think a lot of people who have trouble with sociopathy in general, they aren't so good at feeling emotions. They don't have a wide range of emotions, as Katie has mentioned in the past. And so this is kind of like their way of feeling something in their life. Does being risk-taking, though, make Jake a sociopath? No. Like, clearly, I mean, come on. Like, I love to do roller coasters. Like, I love the high, fast, crazy shit. And does that make me a sociopath? I'll tell you one thing, though. I would not hand Jake a box of matches when I'm around. So we got the risk-taking thing. Jake is definitely a risk-taker, if you ask me. But then we moved into, like, this area of pity, which I think was kind of supposed to represent, like, manipulation and trying to, like, get people to do things that you want. And I don't know, this episode, they didn't really get into, like, a lot of deep stuff, but they mentioned a few things, and I never really got the impression that Jake was seeking pity. I know that maybe they did feel bad for him sometimes. I felt a little bad sometimes, but I don't see that as pity-seeking. I see that as just having conversation and having a natural reaction to what somebody's telling you. There was one thing, though, that had me concerned that maybe it could be related to antisocial personality disorder or sociopathy, and that was that didn't really seem to have, like, strong emotions the whole time. He seemed kind of, like, flat-faced, like nothing was really going on here. I mean, to me, the whole time his face was kind of like... Now, of course, there could be, like, a lot of reasons for that. It could be that maybe he was just tired. He kind of looked generally exhausted the whole time, or it could be something like dissociation. I did kind of get a sense that everybody was a little bit nervous about the whole thing, so maybe that was affecting him. I just hope that that's something that they get a little bit more into, and I know that we saw a preview that Shane was having a more intimate conversation with Jake, and maybe that's something that they talk about, because he mentioned something about, like, you need to express those emotions. And I always like to point out here that Jake is still young. Jake is still, like, growing and learning about himself, and this is a very overwhelming situation to be in, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if he just, like, shuts down, is exhausted, and doesn't have emotional reactions to things that much anymore, because he's been through a lot more than the average 21-year-old in the USA has experienced. I will say this, though, that he was laughing a lot, and it felt like all that laughter was genuine. It didn't seem like it was supposed to, like, manipulate us or anything, so that has me a little bit less worried, because I feel like as long as he can feel actual joy, that's a good thing. So what I really appreciate about this series is that it's really showing you that there's always more that we don't see behind the camera. For me, going into the series, it was really easy to just be like, Jake Paul, ugh, like, really? Do I really want to see this? But I kind of did want to see this because I knew there had to be more to the story, and we've already seen that there is a lot more to the story of Jake Paul than we maybe thought initially. And I appreciate this on a personal note, not just because, like, I'm a YouTuber and there's the camera here and, like, you guys don't see everything that's going on back there, but also because I've been in quite a few situations in my life where I have had some weird behavior and things went down and I had a hard time with it because the people around me only saw the one side of what was going on and they didn't know everything. And sometimes it feels like life can be very lonely and life can be very frustrating when other people don't really know what's going on. It's very easy to pass judgment when you haven't lived someone else's life. And especially in this time that we're living in with media and YouTube only showing one side of the story. I know YouTube's kind of helping to bring out multiple sides, which I appreciate about YouTube. I think it's particularly relevant that a series like this is happening and we get to see everything. In a day and age where social media has sometimes made us feel like there's only one side to everything and people are these one-sided, one-dimensional people, it's nice to have a little bit more humanity back into things. The way that Shane films, I don't know what's going to happen next, because I always think, like, the next episode we're going to see something and then something else happens, but it feels like the next episode is going to get into some really heavy stuff with the breakup with Alyssa Violet and maybe some family stuff, the Family Feud stuff, so I'm gonna try to prepare for that. I think I may be crying again, depending on what is said. I know a lot of my subscribers have come to me because they've been in the middle of breakups, and maybe you'll find yourself relating to Jake Paul and maybe even Alyssa Violet in a way that you hadn't before. I'm going to try to go into it with an open mind. I don't really know that much about the situation, but I imagine that it hurts for both Alyssa and Jake, and I just want to be a witness to them expressing what feels true to them. So what did you think about this episode? Do you think it was like too far over the edge, or do you think he like tuned it down a little bit too much like I do? What are you looking forward to hearing more about in this series? I want to know. Leave that down below in the comments.